Welcome to the Sundays with Wendy podcast, Janet McCarthy.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, we've been talking about doing an episode for a long time. We have such interesting conversations when I come in to get a massage monthly. And this season behind the scenes just felt like the right time. Again, we did an episode a few years ago, but in the healing space, things just seem like they're happening fast and more people are talking about intuition and empowerment. So thank you for joining us. You have such an amazing background as a massage therapist, a Reiki master, and a life coach. And, your perspective, I think, will resonate with our audience. So tell me a little bit, you a powerful story, life-changing when we're approached with a cancer diagnosis. And can you share a little bit about that in your personal journey?
Absolutely, I would love to, most especially because my second diagnosis, I've approached it so much differently than the first time. I had the blessing of going through it once before at age 40. At age 40, I had a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old. I was running a company. My life was different. As a result of that experience and that journey, I went on a personal self-healing journey. Why did I get cancer? Where did this come from? What can I do differently? All of those kinds of questions. It gave me a new opportunity to look at my life and the way I was living it from a different perspective. So the very first time I got it when I was 40, because of my situation and just not being, even in that stage of my life, a solid voice for myself. I was always a good listener and obey the rules and a rule follower. So I did what I was told to do, or the only thing I knew to do. I knew there were options. I knew other movie stars at the time that had gotten diagnosed at the same time were going to Mexico and doing this. And I was like, that would be so cool to be able to do that. But how do I do that? Like, it wasn't within the realm of my capability. So I did I had a lumpectomy. I did radiation. I did chemo before the radiation. I was very, very sick for an entire year. Yet I had to work through it and I still, did my life. But I remember being hospitalized. I remember doing shots for 21 days, like Procreate and things like that, and always feeling tired and down. And trying to be positive and working through it, managing my care, having my chemo done on a Thursday so that by Monday I could be back to work in full. But I lost my hair, all of the things. And so fast forward 25 years later, I find out I have breast cancer again. And while I'm driving home, that I was like, well, should I pull over, from the doctor when they tell me this? And they're like, no, you're fine. And they're like, well, you have to have a mastectomy. This is as I'm driving.
Okay.
It's just, my heart sank and all of those feelings rushed back of doom and gloom, for a split second, just like, what does this mean and why and how? And I remember pulling off to the side of the road and I remember having a short little cry just on my own and saying, and just making a determination at that point that I was going to do it differently. I remembered how bad I felt the first time. And I knew my life is different now. I know that I've gone through my own personal healing where I have a voice and I have opinions and I'm not afraid to state them anymore. So it was almost like I got a redo is the way I mean, and I always am. I always look at the glass half full, not half empty. So what am I going to get out of this? And how am I going to live alongside this as opposed to it consumed me the last time? So I was like, I'm going to walk alongside this. It's a diagnosis. That's all it is. And not to poo-poo it, but really I was like, I'm not going to let it consume me. Also, I knew that my daughter was having a baby. Okay. So like there were all these other things. My kids are grown now. So it's not like I had to worry about them individually and taking care of them. It was more, I felt more empowered in my decisions that they had to be right for me this time. And that I could still serve. I do work for people. That's what makes me happy. That's what brings me joy. If I'm down and out because of chemo and being sick, then how am I going to do what drives my passion, what makes me feel alive? So when I was told that I had to have a mastectomy and I questioned why, It was because I had a lumpectomy the first time. And because of the radiation from the first time, apparently you can't have another lumpectomy. So
Okay.
these are things I just didn't know, were never posed to you the first time. So just things you learn along the way. Knowing that I had to have one and thinking, well, you're taking my whole breast, right? And that was traumatic in itself. And my approach to that was I came to peace with that. I did a little ritual right before my surgery. I sat there and I, I thanked my breast for breastfeeding my children. I thanked it for the work that it did, that it was supposed to do. And I used frankincense and myrrh and oils, and I massaged and just gave Reiki to it and blessed it, imagined what it felt like not to have it, so that I was ready when the time came. And I have to say, that's something I would love to offer to any woman, this ritual of this self-love for something that you're going to lose.
Wow. You've never shared that with me.
Yeah, it's something that I keep personal to my heart. And I really think it helped me. Again, the things that I did or do the second time around were all because of that first encounter. And through that first encounter, I did a lot of personal self-healing too. So I learned to have a voice for myself. The conclusion that I came to is when doctors started throwing things at me, this is what you're going to do, this is what you're going to do, I sat with, and in a very loving and kind way, I said, hi, my name is Janet. I'm an individual. I'm a human being. And just because something works for somebody else, it doesn't necessarily work for me. So I'm going to ask you to support me in this journey, this time, the way I want to do it. So when I was told that I needed chemo after having my mastectomy, I was really upset because I was like, you took my whole breast. Wasn't that enough? And now you put me under, and I was trying to, I said, sell me on why I need it. Sell me. I need to be convinced because I know what I went through last time, and really, I felt awful. So I'm 25 years older than I was. I'm still in good shape, but I'm 25. So why would I want to go through and put myself through that? Give me your best sales pitch. First, they told me I had a 19% chance of it returning. Then it doubled to 38 for these other reasons, which it didn't matter. It was a number to me. So I said 38%. Well, that looks to me like there's a 62% chance it's not going to come back. So can we focus on the not coming back part? I got a lot of pushback. I really, really did. But my doctor also respected me. And that meant a lot because I was like, I need you on board with me. And it's not that I need to go find somebody else that is. What I did do through your help, I did find a holistic oncologist, and I loved that I got in terms of things I should be eating, my little smoothie that I make every day. Also, the thought that, Janet, this pill that they want to give you, this letrozole, you do realize that if somebody weighs 300 pounds or they weigh 125 pounds, they're giving you the same dose every day. And here's all the side effects of that. You know, the achy joints, and what I still couldn't understand, I was like, look at my estrogen numbers. They're so low. Like, how much lower can they get? And we also know that our bodies need estrogen. So there's all these questions that I had. And I was like, I don't want to do it. So the holistic oncologist told me to do one pill on Monday and a half a pill on Thursday based on my weight. And I was getting my blood done to make sure my numbers didn't go up. And I'm one of these people now that I'm going to follow my personal numbers, not what's out there, the statistics. I have my own statistics. I became more of an advocate that way. I want to do what's best for me. I also made a very clear decision, which, yes, every once in a while in the back of my mind, you and I have discussed this, it comes back to possibly, haunt me on occasion. I made a decision that if I have 5 good, healthy, productive years, whatever that number might be, where I am a good citizen in society and I can give and give my gifts and share my gifts versus sitting in a hospital or being home or
Mhm.
stressing because I'm self employed and not working because I'm sick. Like all of those things that doctors don't necessarily look at that whole picture. And every single one of my doctors I've talked to, I've had a conversation saying words are very powerful and
Mhm.
words have energy. And the way you deliver the news, even to somebody,
Mhm.
make or break them. You and I have a lot of conversations about that positive energy. People look at me, oh, you don't look sick. Yeah, well, it's because I didn't do the things that make you look sick during cancer.
Mhm.
What I am doing is I'm working out, I'm eating right, and I'm enjoying life and I'm having fun.
Yeah, if you hadn't have told me, when I was coming in and I would get updated on how you were doing, I wouldn't have known.
That I was sick or
I wouldn't have known. And
that I had a diagnosis.
energy never really changed. I mean, you were frustrated, I think, with the whole process, which it's just the whole thing's frustrating. No one wants to be in that world. But yeah.
I also learned the power of pause.
Mhm.
Because when you get that diagnosis, you know how it is. It's like they start pushing stuff on you.
Oh, yeah.
Push,
Well, the chemo will start tomorrow, you
yeah.
know.
Like I didn't even have time to process this information. And what does my healing journey look like?
Mhm.
Nobody ever asks you. And I was going to say that's the one thing that I really want to drive home to people that get a diagnosis. Sit with it. What does this mean for me? How is this going to affect my life? How am I going to allow this to affect my life? How much say do I get in this? It is my life. It's my diagnosis.
It's my body,
And it's
right?
my body, my choice. I'm right back full circle to it's my body, my choice. And one of the biggest things is to have a support system around you.
Yeah.
That,
I'm,
yeah,
mhm. Yeah, I was going to ask you because it's so interesting when you're diagnosed that, the people around you, I felt like I had to kind of prepare them for the way I was going to do this, which was really interesting to me.
yes, we've talked about that. Yes, because yes, it's ultimately my decision, but it's nice to have people around you that are on board with or understanding at least
Hmm. Hmm.
why why we took the approach we took versus just ticking off all the boxes that we were told to do.
But don't you think it's like, and there's, when you hit you said something like you hit the pause button. But I
Yeah.
think when you do that, what you allow is for your own intuition to really shine through and like that could be one of the most important decisions of your life. How you're going to approach, like for me, a stage 4 cancer diagnosis, for you, a second round of cancer. So to sit with it long enough to really understand and listen to your body. Like I always feel like when the doctor's telling me about a treatment, this versus that, I'm really aware of how my body is reacting when they're speaking. Am I tightened? Do I get
Yes.
constricted when they say,
When they
like when they,
said
or does the thought of this breathe a little, right? And I mean, that never fails me.
I absolutely 1,000% agree. And sometimes if we don't pause or we get that message and then we start, the monkey mind starts going. It is your body speaks your mind. Really, it resonates. And when a doctor says something, I get that. It's exactly,
Yeah.
you contract, you contract. And so I know it's a no, it's a strong no. And now I have to convince the doctor as to why that doesn't work for me. I know that I get pushed to get mammograms. Again, this is all personal. Everybody has to do what they need to do or what feels right for them. The 2 times I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I found the lump. Both times I had just had a mammogram the month prior,
Mm-hmm.
came back clean.
Mm-hmm.
So even to this day, when I'm told, well, can you just get one? Just no.
Mm-hmm.
Much fun. Well, I'm going to ask you then to advocate for me as to why I don't want this and I want to jump to that. So again, those are all personal choices, but I've advocated for myself and my doctors are on board with me. And I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that.
I think if you
That pause thing, though, the other thing that came to mind is when I was hit with those really tough questions and I needed to make decisions before I go to bed at night, when those kinds of things happen, I really do. I put a hand on my heart and a hand on my abdomen, and I think
Mhm.
about the question. I think about this flow chart of if, then, if, then, if, then. When I wake up in the morning, first thought is my answer. It's a practice. It's almost like flexing that muscle and using it, that intuition muscle, and that stopping, asking, and then quieting down to receive the answer.
Mhm.
They haven't failed me.
Mm-mm. You just stay in the driver's seat,
Yes,
right?
yes. And I'm not going to lie. Some days, yeah, we just have a crappy day. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
or, you get a little bit in your head. And then I realize I'm in my head. I'm not in my, and the truth is, I could step off the street tomorrow and die. So it's like, why am I focusing everything on this diagnosis when there's so much of life going on around me?
Mm-hmm.
And I had the blessing of knowing I was having my first grandchild. And I got this crappy news. And I'm like, God, like I've learned to hold simultaneously two very, very different emotions and be okay with both of them.
Yes, go through cancer and still live.
Yeah.
And then find that the more I live and the more things I do, the less this cancer even becomes relevant. Like it's some sort of critical mass that's happened. Like it's like on the back burner now.
I'm too busy living right now. I'm too busy. And I also think, and I try to trick the universe or myself, but I have things on the calendar constantly to look forward to because I'm looking forward to life.
Mhm.
That's why we're here.
And then I pay attention to, like you say, the universe, what is actually going on. So to be asked to sit on another board, to be asked to do things, the universe is winking at me. Keep going. It's not the opposite where I feel like if I was going in another direction, things would constrict, things would be closing in. And so, I kind of listen to all of that too.
It's expanding. Have you noticed that since you made your decision and living it differently this time, I feel like there are more and more opportunities out there, more joy, more life. And it's interesting. I cry a lot more, but not out of sadness. I cry out of joy. The smallest things and living in gratitude. And there's this prayer that I say in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I go like this. I'm like, thank you, because I'm here. Okay. I'm here to live another day, which is a blessing. I ask God to continue to give me purpose. As long as I have this purpose and I can give my gifts and share my gifts, I will keep on trucking. That's the that's the that's the great piece. I know I know that if I were to go tonight, tomorrow, whatever, I am living fully.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that there's such joy in that.
Mm-hmm. I know. But let me ask you this. So, as a healer and working with so many people over the years, so closely with their bodies, and you've seen people come in and out with different ailments and diseases, but how do you perceive the second time around and your own body's ability to heal or to complement, treatment when you're going through something very difficult like a cancer diagnosis?
I have learned, especially this time around. I went back and I said, why did it? And I was like, I made a promise that I was never going to do more than I felt capable of doing, push myself to that limit, set better boundaries. And I was doing a pretty good job at it until I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I got another wake up call. That's what I was like, oh, I got slapped upside the head. You're doing it again. So what I've done now is I do a lot more self-care. As a matter of fact, in my calendar,
Mm-hmm.
my self-care went in first this year before any appointments for clients. My workouts, my acupuncture, my massages,
Mm-hmm.
my Reiki session, my restorative yoga, my yin yoga, it's in there. And everything else falls around it. Because it's not in there, I allow other things to take up that space. So I have, I'm 25 years older than I was the first time. So I'm aware, again, I don't feel old, but I'm also realistic. I need to rest when I need to rest. There's no such thing as FOMO for me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't feel up to doing something, and my friends know and respect that, I will, it's just not a good day. Plus the work that I do it's very physical. It's very personal. I do get into people's bodies and stuff, and I feel, and I need rest after that, and I need recovery after that. And I'm finally giving myself that.
I love that. And it sounds like it's so well-rounded what you're doing. You're focusing on nutrition and exercise and spirituality.
All of the things. Yes. Yeah. I'm really doing like a complete package. I don't even allow myself to fall short. If I see it's like, oh shoot, I don't have an acupuncture appointment, and like, I am on top of it. I was raised in a household where you had to do, and I am like the luxury of rest is underrated. I mean, it's so necessary. It's necessary for healing and keeping your body, like getting it into a homeostasis environment.
Well, tell us about that. Like, in it, how do you feel that these other things that we do in our lives, incorporating these other self-care and healing properties, how do you feel that really impacts doing that alongside treatment?
The complementary aspect of healing I think that's so critical. I'm glad, like the Brock Center, finally, they offer acupuncture and massage and all kinds of complementary things. Not all the doctors are offering it to their patients. I feel like part of this is me educating the doctors too. All these other things out there, please offer them to your clients, because especially if they're going through like a chemo treatment or something like that and feeling bad, they need these other things to supplement them. What are we going to do and release the toxins? Are just as important, if not more.
And then I was talking about this the other day too, the concept of like when you're faced with a diagnosis, these are things that you're adding to, not subtracting out of your life, right? So sometimes we can get like really hung up on, oh, no sugar, no gluten, eat, you know what I mean? And it becomes these things that are difficult to do or labeled as bad. And so it's almost like these are things that complement, that just come in and enhance your.
They enhance your body. And also, like when you said the things, the don't do's.
Yeah.
There's a fine line. You and I have discussed that as well. I'm living so I can live.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to deny myself any fun, joy, whatever, then what's the sense of living? Like, we get through this diagnosis, we're on the other side of it. Yes, I'm going to have some sugar.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's this right now, what's going on. We're hearing a lot about, well, definitely alcohol and health risks, which there is. And we, maybe should have known more how serious those were. You knew it wasn't the greatest thing, but, you still did it. But, denying yourself a glass of wine when you go out to dinner with your friends or not having a piece of cake. I mean, that's where I think the pendulum has gone so far that it impedes any enjoyment, which I think having that joy and enjoying yourself sometimes, how do I say it?
Overrides.
Overrides, the piece of cake or the glass of wine.
I am 100% in agreement with that because I've lived that other side of it where it was so, so strict. And what that also does is add stressors.
Mm-hmm.
Stress is the absolute biggest offense of all. Like, that's what I guarantee, that's what's brought my cancer on, was stress. And not stress, me not dealing with my stress in the best way possible.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does is knocks your immune system down, and it allows cancer cells that we all have in our body just not to be properly discarded.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. I absolutely commend you on having a glass of wine. You're not overdoing anything. You're just doing something that brings you joy.
Yeah, like I just got 2 packs of I do have a little problem with the Peeps. I know it's so funny, Easter, the little chicks, the Peeps. Yeah, but so I just downed like 2 packs of Peeps.
Oh, is this like true confession?
But it's fun, and I liked them as a kid, and I'm not gonna not. I'm just not. I mean, because I spent like 95% of what I do is good.
You know what?
Borderline obsessive, like it's ridiculous what I do.
I still put turbinado. Okay, my confession. I put 2 teaspoons of turbinado sugar in my mug of coffee in the morning because you know what? I like the way it tastes.
Good, like it.
I do it. That's the sugar that I add to anything in the day, but that's what I do.
Yeah, I know. I think just a little good old plain on enjoyment and being kind to ourselves.
I think that goes almost 1,000% further than some of the other things we do. Is allowing ourselves. We, especially this Type A personality, where you're restrictive and everything's got to be done, and check the boxes. I'm kind of trying to let go of that. I get my stuff done because that also brings me joy when I know that I've got stuff done. But getting a little less obsessive about that and being a little more flexible makes for an overall more well-being.
Yeah. And, too, I think, I've been, let's see, I was diagnosed almost 3.5 years ago. So this is a long haul. I mean, this isn't like 6 months or 8 months. And sometimes you get fatigue from thinking about the supplements. And so for me, it's become very cyclical. Like sometimes I'm doing the turmeric and then sometimes I'm not. And I just let it happen because sometimes I think that's what my body might not need it right then.
I was actually going to say that. So I have these supplements that I take, and most of them pretty regularly. But I do find there are times, and I don't even know how it happens, that I wean off of them. I also know that if I don't wean off of it, I feel my body's going to get too used to it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's an intuitive stopping of it. It's not like I'm going to stop today. It kind of just happens.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get back in the realm of, yeah, I need to get these back on.
When I go, I check in once a month at the clinic with my treatment. And it's so funny because they'll go through your list of medications and all they have on there is they said, "Are you still taking your vitamin C?" And I said, "Yes, I'm still taking my vitamins." It's hilarious. It's almost hilarious. I mean,
they don't even know half the stuff that I take. They look at you with like,
yeah,
eyes, because I'm like, it's good. And then I'll even ask, and this is something I did, like vitamin D. There's this level of vitamin D that apparently breast cancer. Why aren't they telling us more about that? So I asked my doctor, I said, "Have you heard about this study?" And I go, "Oh yeah." And I go, well, that's not what I speak to. Because that's not what an oncologist does, right? I'm not going to use the word pushing, but pushing pharmaceutical drugs. There are other things like they say, like, oxygen, other supplements, the infrared, just, and all that really is making your body healthier, creating an environment where those things can't live.
and what was the word? Inhospitable to cancer.
Yep, I like that. Not welcome here.
Right. And that's why I think I was like growing up, I was the sheep of the family. Like I was exercising. And like one time we had this place called, anybody locally in Hampton Roads, it used to be called Shoney's. It was like a buffet. And so it was kind of famous. And so we once a week, all the family went to Shoney's. And my mom said to me that I wasn't allowed to get the buffet because I didn't eat enough to pay for the cost of the buffet. But naturally, that's just how I was. I was detoxing with like, jumping in a hot shower and then getting cold sheets. I mean, it was kind of crazy. So, but I think that's probably why when I was finally diagnosed, no one around me even knew I was sick. No one said to me, "Hey, Wendy, you look a little off," or "Are you a little tired?" I mean, it was kind of like the shock of the scan. But I think that had I not done all of those things, it probably would have happened earlier and it would probably been more severe. And I wouldn't have been able to overcome it in a way that I have.
I know your energy levels have been off the charts. So
Yeah, it's insane.
do you feel like I'm not trying to be cocky about this, but I dare you. I'm winning this one.
Well, I mean, not like I dare you, but even when I was like getting diagnosed, so like when you say rare stage 4, I mean, it's still kind of frightening, even though Ben had one, I was kind of used to the terminology, but I was never felt like I had it. And I even told the doc, I've said this before, like I looked at the doctor and I said, look, I see it on the scan and I have this one really bad symptom, obviously, but I don't feel sick. Because I have a rare cancer and there's no other data, insurance is going to make me do this. So I fought them to, I'm sure I'm on like the bad list, a patient list or whatever, but I fought them tooth and nail about all these other things. And so it just came down to it. I was going to have to do convention, which was chemo, radiation, blah, blah, blah. And I did it. I didn't like it, but
you also did supplemental complementary things alongside it.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, fasting during chemo. I'm like, there's ways to do it easier,
yeah.
And I did it, but I kind of like, I felt like I was just like glazing over it. Does that make any sense? I know that doesn't make any sense.
It makes sense to me because that's how I feel the second time around. Like I was so in it the first time, like I was all in. And now I'm like, it was a nuisance
to
deal with. I had some downtime. It took some of my energy away. That was more like the surgeries and the recovering from the surgeries. That actual cancer part, I never felt sick from the cancer.
I was just mad at the fact it was going to interfere with my life.
Yep. And that part of that thing is that the anger. And because it's an inconvenience, it really is.
And then just everything around it. I mean, you have to manage the people around you who may not be responding to it in the way I was going to respond to it, which was, I'm not going to give it any more attention than it deserves. Then it was, then you have to get on all these portals. Then you start getting appointment reminders, check in for your appointment, check in for your scan. And then was like, oh, hell no. Like I went into all the things and undid all the notifications and I would call them. I don't want a text and an email, because every time you get that notification, it's a ping of, oh my God. And I was having a great day. I didn't want to think about the appointment in a week and a half.
And when you just said that, you did the body thing that I so feel and understand. Your heart there's a contraction and it's a trigger when you get those notifications because I'm doing everything in my mind, not to ignore it, but to put it on a shelf. It's got a space in my life, a compartment. I'm going to compartmentalize my diagnosis.
Back burner.
It's way back burner. And I've got all this other stuff, life, living, fun to do. I will deal with it as it needs to be dealt with. So I totally get what you're saying with the those notifications. Also, can we talk a little bit too about the support system around? Like you and I have had conversations. Like some people mean well, they just don't know. how to be well in our diagnosis.
Mhm.
So I learned this time around, because I was doing it differently, that I needed the support of the people that I trusted, that I knew could hold space for me. I also knew which people to ask for different things, because not everybody's wired the same. And again, everybody means well. They just don't necessarily. When somebody walks up to me with the saddest face and the like, I don't want that.
Mhm.
Like, see me, I'm trying to smile. I'm trying to thumbs up. So that's what we need. So I would also say anybody out there that ever has a friend, a family member that gets diagnosed, one of the, I think, most wonderful things for them is you can tell I'm here, but what is it that you need from me? How can I make this journey? How can I support you in this journey? Not even make it better, but what can I do to help you? When somebody asks that, I actually got very specific. Like, my mom would pray for me. She's great at prayer. Like, please that, take that. And the women in your group, please pray for me. Other people are great about organizing meals and things like that's what I needed and I asked for. And then there were times when I just said, I just need to be like seriously like left alone. I need to do this for a while. So knowing your people, and then being strong enough to ask for help.
Mhm.
That was the big thing on this journey too.
Yeah.
I had 4 surgeries in 2 years, and asking for help was always one of the most difficult things for me to do. And I had to humble myself. And I realized that people really, really wanted to help me, and they were there for me, and they showed up in the ways that I needed. And I can't thank those people enough. They know, I mean, any chance I get to say thank you again for seeing me, feeling me, and knowing what I need, I appreciate that. And so I live in this sweet spot of gratitude
Mhm.
every day, all day, all day. The smallest things I am grateful for.
Yeah. I remember I heard one of my friends, we had met for lunch and she said, "Well, when are we getting the scan results?" But she said, "Wait." And it really was so sweet because it's so hard to describe. It was so endearing to me. Mhm. And I'll never forget
But
that.
also, you're not alone. It says you're not alone.
And the right people will know how to support you.
And the
And if
people that,
not, you just teach them. I
mhm,
feel like just teach people how to do it. I know you want to send some food, but I'm really stocked up. But if you want to go see a movie,
mhm.
or how about we meet for coffee, or I could really use some lavender essential oil. I mean, I don't know, whatever it is, right?
But ask for what you need. Yeah, ask for what you need.
Hmm. And sometimes it's space, like you said.
And I think it's also important to educate your doctors as much as you can, as much as they're open to hearing it. Again, in a very kind way, but just like, this is what I need to do, or this is what works for me.
Or if something doesn't feel right about like in the where I am right now is there are no statistics on other people really.
Mhm.
So like I could stay on this treatment another 6 months, but it's been good for a while and I'm now questioning should I stay on it? And
Mhm.
but they, I think as a profession, they want you to stay on it for the length of time of the protocol. It really bothers me because well, that's the other 5 people or I'm different and I listen to my body. So, I feel I try to keep it a neutral kind of
Conversation.
conversation, but I kind of feel like it's going to come to a culmination. I'm going to want to stop and she's going to want to keep me going, not because of Wendy, because of the protocol.
And Wendy, what are you going to do at that point? Because Wendy knows what's best for Wendy.
Well, Wendy's going to do what always Wendy does.
Yes. Yes.
Wendy is going to do what Wendy wants to do.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's fine.
Well, and that's empowering too. That also empowers not only you, but it's also setting a boundary with your doctor, saying, "Okay, I understand what you're doing, but you just told me there's no statistics. Like, let's start talking logic. Like, where's the logic in this? You're going to keep throwing this at me, but you just told me there's no statistic.
Yeah. And from a biological standpoint, they can't even tell me if it's working or not because they don't know because there's not enough data.
But they're not taking it away because, God forbid, then we don't want anything. So I understand. But at some point, you're going to say, just like I'm into it that I'm on.
Well, it kind of goes back to the intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've had enough.
Yeah.
I mean, there were times when I was supposed to be taking like a certain amount of something during radiation. And I took, because of some advice I got from my herbalist, he said, no, he told me what times to take 2 before, don't take them take them half of that, but before bed or whatever. I never told them anything.
No. Well, you know what? Sometimes less information is. Mm-hmm. I love that my oncologist now, when I walk in there, she's like, hey, friend. And I look at her and I go, oh, I'm your friend. But there's this respect, there's self-respect there.
Yeah. And I know we're talking about like having these hard conversations with an oncologist. So my oncologist and I, we have this funny conversation about my purse. So I got a new purse last fall. It's like the purse has a personality of its own. It's so funny. I'll go on a plane and people are like, excuse me, can I move your bag? I mean, it's just too much. But anyway, so she loves the purse. So every time we go in, she'll tell me a story like, oh, my best friend bought the same purse and how much she wants the purse. But I love it. It's not really about the purse. It's because it's more fun to talk about other things. I don't want to talk about cancer. She probably doesn't want to talk about cancer. And the same thing used to happen with bed. We go into the room and we end up talking about all these other things other than the cancer.
Which is great. And mine starts asking me about my workout protocol and all that. Because you're looking, you know what? I'm also not the average person she sees every day.
Yeah.
If you think about it, because most of the other people are undergoing some very strenuous and they're just not feeling good. And
I asked them if I could bring in the camera crew last time, but they said no.
Oh. Was that going to be just you
like the foundation we're filming a behind the scenes film, and they wanted the day in the life of Wendy. So they said, Wendy, it'd be really powerful if we could get you, going for your treatment, and there wouldn't have to be dialogue. It would just be you going in, maybe you're sitting with the doc, getting access, whatever. But they said no. So what we did, we filmed me going into the building and leaving the building.
Okay. So you went in and came out, but
yeah, you are not the average patient, and neither am I, and nor do I want to be.
I'm just going to say, and I'm proud not to be. I mean, for the first time, I feel like I'm standing up for health in my life, in my decisions, in my health, I'm sleeping better, I'm eating better, like everything's good.
I know people ask me about my sleep, and it's so interesting. I think God was like, we're going to give her a lot in this lifetime, but we're going to let her sleep, because I sleep like a baby.
See, I don't, but I'm learning. And I have a very wise daughter who gives me all the things. So I wake up in the morning, I look at the sun, and I get my circadian rhythm going. And if I day or two that I'm not sleeping well, because my joke, it's not funny, but my joke is always, I have plenty of time to sleep when I'm dead. My daughter says, but Mom, if you're not getting enough sleep, then you can die sooner because your body doesn't have. I was like, yeah, you're right. So I'm switching that. It's never too late to learn.
I have a sanctuary. It's like no TV zone. There's crystals. It's a whole thing.
I love it.
It's peaceful. I mean, it just, I love going to bedtime. And then whenever I meet new people, it's so funny because, you get on a text thread or whatever, and they're like, you don't respond after 8:30. I said, because I'm asleep.
Or you're shutting down. Like
yeah.
Not disturb or whatever. It's like, don't call, like you can call me, but I'm not going to call you after 9:00 at night. I'm really learning that process of decompressing and letting go of my day and letting go of all the things I've done during the day and coming to the sense of peace. And don't mess with my peace. Like, just don't mess with me.
Oh, I know, right? I mean, that's one thing I've learned. People, ask me like something, but I'm just so peaceful that, I mean, yeah, would I like to have a boyfriend? Would I like, yes, of course. But like right now, I'm just kind of enjoying the peace that I've created for myself.
Yeah. And that's what I said. Don't mess with my peace. Like that. I don't need things. I need peace.
You were such a shining example of such resilience, and you're a healer. So I cannot let you off the show without asking you a question I ask all my guests. What does the word healing mean to you?
I think that word we just talked about, peace, healing, peace and joy is healing for me. Being in the Zen mood, space, seeing life just the ebbs and flow and accepting. So it's seeing what things are, knowing what things are, and then accepting. So acceptance, peace, and joy. That to me is
Well, you exhibit all of those so beautifully. And I thank you so much for coming on and sharing a little bit about your story. And I know it will go far.
thank you. I appreciate it, the be able to share.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you.